Islamic Republic has ruled Iran after the revolution of 1979 and fall of the Pahlavi dynasty. Leaders of the revolution took over promising freedom of thought expression, freedom of political parties, and free elections. Elections in Islamic Republic, however, have been increasingly criticized over the past 42 years, and their true nature has been questioned by ordinary people, civil society, and many political activists alike. But how are these elections, specifically presidential elections, are conducted? This is Iran Explained, where we take a look at Iran's economy, history, politics, and more. This is the story of Iran's presidential elections today. It was 1979. Revolutionaries were about to take control of the country, and Pahlavi dynasty was disintegrating. Leader of the revolution and his close circle were trying to get their message across to their politicians around the world and people in the country by public speeches and interviews. They were trying to describe what it would be like to live under the upcoming Islamic Republic. They promised whatever seemed acceptable or attractive at the time, from improving people's spirituality, whatever that means, to free water, electricity, and transportation. One of their main promises, however, was free elections and creating a republic like Republic of France if they take over. Takeover they did. In a matter of months, the new constitution was drafted, and in a year, the first presidential election was held. Fast forward to 2022, Islamic Republic has held 13 presidential elections. Now this video is about how the whole system functions and how Islamic Republic's constitution has designed elections to work today, rather than how the constitution has been developed or manipulated during all these years. It is important to keep in mind that the president, in theory, is the second most powerful person in the Islamic Republic after the supreme leader. So the election is significant and is a huge event. There is a lot of propaganda encouraging people to vote, and different governmental bodies are involved, including Ministry of Interior, Guardian Council, and Central Executive Board of Election. Legally, all Iranian nationals who are considered to be a political and religious personality retain executive and management skills, have a good reputation, have not been convicted of any crime, and are virtuous, a believer in Islamic Republic and its fundamentals, and also a follower of the official religion of the country, which is the 12-verse Shia Islam, can volunteer to become a candidate by submitting the appropriate documents in person at the Ministry of Interior. The Ministry of Interior is responsible for holding the election in cooperation with the Central Executive Board. The minister is the head of the board. Other board members are one President member of the Parliament or Majlis, the Attorney General, the Minister of Intelligence, and 7 religious, political, or cultural personalities that can be considered trustworthy by the people based on the law. After the submission of documents, they are sent to the Guardian Council, which is very powerful and influential in the Islamic Republic. It acts as constitutional court, a legislative council overseeing parliament, and an election supervision body. It is composed of a total of 12 members, 6 faqihs or experts in Islamic law appointed by the supreme leader, and 6 jurists nominated by the Chief Justice and approved by Majlis. By the way, Chief Justice himself is appointed directly by the supreme leader. Now back to the candidates. After the Interior Minister sends the list of volunteers to the Guardian Council, they have 5 to 10 days to evaluate each registered individual and decide if someone can or cannot be a candidate in the election. Again, theoretically, based on the law. Then, a list of approved candidates is sent to the Interior Ministry and broadcasted to the people by the state TV and radio. Although the list sometimes leaks to the public even before that in social media these days. All the approved candidates have the opportunity to go on a campaign in a period of time determined by the Interior Ministry and Central Executive Board of Elections. The campaigns have to end 24 hours before the election starts. All the candidates should have an equal opportunity to use state-owned media, especially TV and radio. Since 2009, it has been customary for the candidates to have a number of debates as well. On the election day, Iranians all around the world can vote in person with a valid ID. At each ballot box, there can be representatives of each candidate as well as individuals from Guardian Council and Interior Ministry. After votes were casted and voting branches closed, the votes are counted and results are publicized. Any candidate that receives more than 50% of the popular vote wins the election. Next, the president-elect has to attend the endorsement ceremony. It cannot be inaugurated before the endorsement ceremony where the supreme leader validates people's votes. This is important because from the Islamic Republic's point of view, the power to rule has been handed to the supreme leader by God and the supreme leader passes that to the elected individual. Without this step, president-elect is not legitimate. After the endorsement ceremony, president-elect can be sworn in at the inauguration ceremony that takes place in the parliament with the Chief Justice by his side. At the first glance, this process seems very familiar and similar to many countries with some sort of an election. This system allows a certain amount of flexibility inside the Islamic Republic and is arguably more successful to mask its undemocratic characteristics. Just as an example, undemocratic aspects of elections in Assad's regime in Syria is comparatively easier to identify because he has been the president for life with no apparent opposition after the death of his father. Similarly, it is easier to realize that presidential elections are not serious in Russia because Vladimir Putin never leaves power and only switches positions with the prime minister every 8 years. In Iran, presidents have changed at least every 8 years and usually go under the radar either forcibly or willingly after their term ends. This system has enabled Islamic Republic to put some of the blame on the outgoing president every now and then and lessen public's discontent. As you can see, this definitely benefits the Islamic Republic. But what are the issues? Some of them are inherent to the law itself. For example, remember the characteristics of an eligible candidate? Nobody really knows what some of them mean, what it means to be virtuous, or what the fundamentals of Islamic Republic are. These statements are open to interpretation. The interpretation of law is one of the responsibilities of the Guardian Council, and they can manipulate it the way they want. Individuals who do not get passed through the Guardian Council's filter cannot be candidates. This prevents many qualified individuals who might have issues with the official policies of the system to hold office. And if people attempt to change the law, they have to go through the parliament itself. But MPs also have to be approved by the Guardian Council before participating in the elections as candidates in a similar way. Another issue is with the endorsement ceremony. If for some reason the supreme leader decides not to endorse an elected individual, even though he has won the election, that person cannot become the president, although this has never happened. There are also more fundamental problems, such as the fact that non-Muslims or even Shia Muslims who do not believe in the leadership of supreme leader can be approved. Other issues have risen from the fact that officials in the Islamic Republic easily ignore the constitution. For instance, no individual participating in holding or supervising the election is allowed to publicly endorse a candidate, but this happens all the time. The head of the Guardian Council that is supposed to supervise the election is also the temporary imam for Friday prayers and has used that to express his support for a specific candidate in different elections. People get approved for some elections and not for others. This happened to the Speaker of Parliament last year when Guardian Council did not approve him to become a candidate for presidency. Dangerously, the impact of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, has increased over the years to an alarming rate. They often express their support for a candidate and use what is at their disposal logistically, ideologically, and financially for backing their favorite candidate. But what does this system mean for the people? Besides one group that vote in the election because they believe in the core values of Islamic Republic, participating in the elections has been a controversial and dividing issue. Reformists who advocate for change inside the constitution believe that people should take advantage of whatever tool they have to influence policymaking, although that tool might have limited functionality. These days, support for reformists is dwindling, and a growing number of people believe that trying to depend on elections for reform is doomed to fail. No capable individual can become president in this process, and he is not going to wield any real power anyway compared to the supreme leader and his appointees, the Chief Justice, the head of IRGC, the Guardian Council, head of the state radio and television, and many others. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about this channel in the comments, and if you like more videos, click the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.